General Order Number 11, as of Stardate 1/9903. Starfleet officers with the rank of captain or higher are granted full authority to negotiate conditions of agreement or treaties with legal representatives of non-Federation planets. In such circumstances, the acting officer carries the de facto powers of a Federation Special Ambassador. Any and all agreements arranged in this manner are subject to approval by the Chief of Starfleet Operations and the Secretary of Starfleet. So what we're saying here, or what they're saying here basically, is anybody of flag rank or higher, or captaincy or higher, can meet with non-allied member or species or planets or stellar governments, if you will, with the purpose of negotiating a treaty, which can be later ratified by Starfleet Command and the Federation itself, or not ratified. So it's up to the captain or high-ranking individual to make that point very clear to the other side, that while I do speak as de facto ambassador, blah, 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 to the Federation, it's subject to my superiors saying, hey, we agree with it. So it's not necessarily 100% or 100% binding as if it was a specific Federation appointed special ambassador for the situation and or representative. What that does do, especially on the smaller scale, if you think about it, a lot of our Starfleet captains and their crews travel vast distances of space, and encounter in their journeys of exploration and expanding our knowledge of the frontier, they encounter lots of races, lots of species. Well, I'm going to imagine quite a few of them are still planet bound or system bound. You know, that they meet the basic prime requirements so that the prime directive is not in violation, or they're already pre-existing and we know about them, and your captains are allowed to negotiate limited treaties, limited trade deals, things like this, that's beneficial to the Starfleet Federation and ideally to the planet and or alien species in question. Given the fact that the Federation has quite a robust ambassador corps and is a federal, that Starfleet's just an entity of the Federation. It's one of those areas where I get a little, I think in some aspects Starfleet has too much power, and General Order Number 11 potentially shows one of those instances where I don't think captains of starships really should have that kind of authority. I think they should have the authority to broker the initial concept, perhaps, or to approach the idea. But I think somebody of senior rank or position should probably pursue things like this, of this nature. And I think it's even more probable or more important that it should be representatives of the Federation government per se, and not its Starfleet, its quote exploration military arm. So I mean, that would be like Starfleet's colonization organization also conducting treaties. Is this imply that the other divisions of the Federation government have their own versions of the general orders and have authority to do this sort of thing? At least makes me wonder. Now, if this is ideally, I think, in used in context, that General Order Number 11 allows for Starfleet officers to begin the initial forays into a binding treaty. So a temporary treaty, if you will, would be more appropriate, I think. And that's just my opinion on this, of course. Then I have another point. When it says Starfleet captains, well, is that captain as in the rank of captain, or is that as in the senior officer in command of the vessel? Because too many times a lot of people assume, well, it must be the version of Picard or Kirk or what have you, because it's a Federation starship. And yet for every heavy cruiser, every regular cruiser, There's 100 auxiliary vessels of destroyer and scouts and escorts, and all of them are captained. They have a captain of the ship. Although their rankings are probably less, you probably see more commanders and lieutenant commanders in charge of escort vessels and corvettes and potentially scout ships, but they're still going to retain the title captain while on board the ship. So their actual rank may not be captain. And then we have the other direction. We have the second direction. We have fleet captains, which can also be considered a commodore, although the use of the term commodore and fleet captain are loose in the Federation, in Starfleet specific. It's not an actual advancement. Above captain is admiral, and they don't go into great detail, but we know that there are several categories of admiral as well, although they're not posted or not blatantly made known in the various series or canon, but it comes up. We know that Captain Pike at one time became a fleet captain, which meant he would be the senior captain in a flotilla or squadron. So if a small fleet of starships were assembled, and you've got a half dozen or a dozen captains, the one with the most senior rank or seniority, or the one that's appointed by the superiors as the head of the task force, is going to be considered a flag captain temporarily. And Commodore later, it's especially in the first series, Captain Pike has also advanced to the rank of Commodore, and it's kind of I don't want to say a posthumous because he's not dead, but he's pretty well his ability to do anything is pretty much limited. So they gave him a rank of Commodore more out of respect than as an actual position. Although there are references to the rank of Commodore in some of the beta canon, if you will, some of the novels and comic books. A couple uses that come to mind, and I'm stretching my mind on those because those were a long time ago when I read them, were officers who were established at starbase and command of star bases or logistics centers or behind the scenes. They're not quite ranked at admiral yet, so they're given the rank of Commodore. The most recent would have been the Commodore who supposedly accompanied Captain Kirk on the Talos 4 incident when Spock steals the ship or commandeers the ship to take Commodore Pike to Talos 4. So we know that there are references to Commodores, but you don't see them in later series and later canon, so that may have changed. We do know at least one time I've heard of the rank Rear Admiral. I believe Captain Kirk was offered a position as a Rear Admiral, and if you look at Admiralty today, there's like 4 variants. There's a junior, a middle, a support, and then the high command version. So there's a Grand Admiral per se. So there's several rankings, and it's like generals in the Army in our today's vernacular, the Americans' vernacular, I should say. So there you have it. Till next time, keep your treaties straight.